Hey there, Elon families. Welcome to another episode of Between the Oaks, where we bring you interviews with some of Elon's most interesting and important people. Today we're going to talk to Phil Smith. He's the owner of the Oak House Coffee Shop, which is right across the street from campus in downtown Elon. Phil's going to tell us about his transition from working full-time at the university to opening a coffee shop and what it's been like to build a community here in downtown Elon. Now let's go Between the Oaks. We're here inside the Oak House with Phil Smith. Phil, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we're in our little corner here. It looks like we're about to do a performance, but we'll leave that microphone be and the guitar.
Yeah, you don't want to hear me sing,
no?
I promise.
Okay.
And I've heard you sing, so.
So yeah, we definitely don't want that. So I always like to start these conversations with an Elon origin story, and you have been around for 20 years. And you didn't come to open a coffee shop. So tell us kind of how you arrived at Elon.
Yeah, that's true. So 2006, It was, I think, August is when I arrived on campus. And I was working in Georgia. I had moved to Georgia to go to grad school, had a job, had been there several years, and wanted to get back to North Carolina, right, as everyone should. And my folks lived here, wanted to be a little closer to them. So saw this job pop up and applied for it, and it was in the Truett Center, the assistant chaplain position. Thought I had no chance because it's kind of a hard thing to do to make that transition typically, and applied, interviewed, showed up on campus for an interview, and they picked me. Well,
so let's rewind a little bit. Your undergraduate major was biology.
Yeah.
So how did you get from there so for the Truett Center to be an assistant chaplain, like how do you go from being a bio major in college to that?
Yeah, I think Forrest Gump had it right with the whole box of chocolates. You never know, right?
Right.
So I was undergrad bio major. Pre-med was the plan.
Okay.
Ended up not going to med school. Had a bit of a diversion. Ended up going to seminary.
Right.
So grad school at Mercer University, and worked in church and faith formation for, I lose track, almost 20 years, but including the time at Elon, about 20 years. So this was definitely a second career. But I did not put, the biology degree didn't get put to direct use. I've just helped people occasionally with their homework.
Right. And while you worked full-time at Elon, you wore multiple hats there too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Talk us through kind of your career progression while you were full-time at Elon.
Sure. So I came in as the assistant university chaplain with Chaplain McBride, who was a legend at Elon, and did that for a few years. There was a transition plan. He was retiring, so I was going to be the bridge to the new person. So just as fate would have it, there was no new person, and I kind of got tapped to be an interim.
Okay.
So I did an interim for 2 years as the head chaplain, and then someone did come in. And then I did that for another year, kind of helping them with their transition, and then made the transition over. I was transitioned 5 times.
You're transitioning a lot.
I'm a lot of transitioning. But then over to study abroad. So the study, it was called Study USA, basically.
Yep.
So it was in the Global Education Center, but doing the domestic study away programs.
So how did that, like you used the word transition again, how did that, how'd you make that move from the Truett Center to Study USA?
It's kind of funny. I had finished my time in the Truett Center. I was actively looking to stay in that world, in that sphere of chaplaincy.
Yep.
But one of the things you probably would have no reason to know, those positions are few and far between and hard to get. So everything I was looking at was really far away. And I did not want to move far away at the time. So I'm out for a jog, and my phone rings in my ear, and I stop, and I'm panting and sweaty, and it was the dean of the program, Woody Pelton.
Yep.
And he's like, hey Phil, we got this program we're trying to start. And so it was kind of an entrepreneurial piece to start this program from scratch. He's like, your name's been mentioned 2 or 3 times. I know it's not what you've done, but I know you can kind of do things.
Right.
Would you be interested in helping us get that off the ground while you continue that bigger search? And so I was like, sure. And so that was a 2-year stint. And then by the time that was over, I realized I couldn't stay in chaplaincy and not move far away. Just everything I interviewed for was, I interviewed with a program in Abu Dhabi.
That's
NYU
far away.
has a program in Abu Dhabi.
As far away as it gets.
And I'm like, I can't do that. So I really was trying to stay in North Carolina. So that, and then that kind of led to this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want me to get in.
Yeah, that's kind of
okay.
a good segue. So you're now the owner of a coffee shop in downtown Elon, across the street from campus. How did that happen?
Yeah. So, back to Forrest. It's another box of chocolates.
Right.
A whole nother box, not even the same box of chocolates.
Right.
But so this building had sat empty for about a year.
Yeah, it used to be a restaurant, right?
Yeah. So I had kind of seen it evolve. So when I got here, it was a restaurant and they had closed, and another restaurant came in and that had closed. Another restaurant, it literally three places.
Yeah.
And it had sat empty for a year. So you might be saying you opened it there. Why?
Right.
But different concept. So the way it worked out, it's kind of cool. I was teaching a little class called Life Entrepreneurship. And in this course, sophomore program, that we were challenging the students to like think about their future with their skills, their passions, their interests, their experiences, put it all together and kind of create their own plan. So every week I was challenging them to check their plan. What have you done towards your plan? Until one day a student said, "What about your plan?" Because I had said someday in retirement, I want to do something like this in a college town. And so I'd stop and I'm like, well, no, we're here for you, not me. But they really challenged me, and it was really a perfect, good storm. The university was looking at off-campus places for intellectual engagement. They owned the building. They were waiting for the tenant they wanted. It had been several restaurants that did not work, but I thought this concept might work without not being a full restaurant. So it all came together. I was actually at a basketball, of all places, I was at the SoCon tournament in Asheville, and I bumped into President Lambert, and he asked me kind of what my next steps in life were, because that was winding down. And I said, well, let me tell you what I want to do. I laid this out, and here we are, because they own the building. They had to make that decision. And so I did a little presentation for the senior staff, and here we are.
And that was, what, 2014?
Yeah, that was around March of 14. Got the lease in May. We opened late. As things happen,
as it always does.
We were trying to open for the fall, obviously, for the move-in, and we opened September 5 of 2014.
Wow. And so for those folks who may be watching that have never been to the Oak House, and I did a little research when I read an article from back in 2014, and I think you said you hoped it would be a combination of Cheers and Central Perk, right?
Absolutely.
Working on our NBC sitcoms. So for somebody who's never been here, describe this place and the kind of vibe that you're hoping for, and hope 12 years later what you've achieved.
Absolutely. And I got to give credit, Dr. Smith Jackson. That was his quote. I borrowed it. Well, think of those two shows if you know them. I mean, Cheers is where everybody knows your name, so it's where you're known, whether we know your drink order or your name, and so that vibe of community. And then Cheers is kind of where your friends are, the people you want to hang out with. It's where you meet up to talk about life and what's going on. The component of it that's not in those shows is obviously the academic side, and so a lot of people are meeting in here to discuss academic projects or study, that kind of a lot of sorority meetings right now after recruitment. So that's kind of the idea. And then before opening, I wrote a big paper. It wasn't really a business plan because we've mentioned I have a theology and a biology degree, not a business degree.
You didn't talk about business plan.
So I did more of a vision plan, and the vision was down to how the tables looked and the chair, everything was basically what it has become, and that is a place where student, staff, faculty, community meet, and kind of a third place around beverages.
And you see, whenever I come in here, there's always those little meetings, those little casual interactions. People set their meetings to come to the Oak House, a little more casual, and get you off campus, even though you're right across the street.
And yet it doesn't feel industrial. It's a chill, pretty chill vibe, and even the colors in the room, and we picked those intentionally to be kind of warm and inviting, and wood and gray and all that kind of stuff.
Very cool. All right, so now let's talk about you, the person, a little bit. You and I got to know each other a long time ago, back when I was coaching basketball, and you were in the Truett Center, and I know you're a big basketball fan. For the Phoenix and the Tar Heels, I believe, and do a lot of traveling. go to a lot of the different away games and see a lot of different things. Tell me about kind of how that started and all the cool places, some of the cool places you've gotten to go.
Yeah, so I've been a basketball fan since I can remember, right? I grew up in Durham, and our family was into it, Carolina fans, except my dad was a Dookie, but anyway, we won't hold that against him.
Forgive him, right?
But here, it's really interesting. So I was out in front of the old Truett Center, and Ernie Nestor was the basketball coach at the time. This was my first probably week or two on campus.
That was like mid-2000s, right?
Yeah. So he was here, I guess 5, 6, 7, something like that. But this was right when I got here in 06, and he's out jogging. I meet him on the sidewalk. We chit-chat a little bit, and mentioned that I was a fan, and they were opening game was at Georgia Tech. And I was like, I'm thinking about going down there. It'd be really cool. I just moved from Georgia, and I'd love to just go do a road game with Elon. He goes, oh, well, you need tickets? And I was like, well, sure, I hadn't thought about that. So he arranged some really good seats for the game. So the next year, we played Virginia Tech for the opener. And he reaches out and was like, hey, are you going to do this again? I'm like, you mean just the opening away? He's like, yeah, I think that's your shtick.
Okay.
So he made it my thing. So I, other than COVID year, and I missed one, but I've been to every opening away game for Elon since 06, no matter where it is. Poughkeepsie, New York is the furthest I've been, and that was probably with you, to see Marist. Right. And that was also the first win I got to see us have too on an away, because they're usually playing bigger teams. So that was fun. And then the wildest, I'll have to say, the coolest experience was just a couple years ago, was Notre Dame. Was we went to Notre Dame as their opener and then beat them at Notre Dame. And that was pretty wild. And then I've traveled a fair amount with Carolina, going to some of those games too. I've been to tournaments with Elon, been to all kinds of stuff.
And I know both through that and through your work in the Truett Center and Study USA, like your relationship with students has been a big key of kind of what keeps you here, right?
I would agree 100%. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about like why that's so important to you.
Yeah. Well, I think the cool thing about especially working in a university community, so either at the university or in the community around a university, is watching development and growth, and just seeing somebody, from 18 to 22 is just a tremendous amount of development. And watching that person, and over there at the university, it was maybe as a student worker or a leader in an organization I was working with, but to watch them kind of come into their own and go from asking the questions to giving the answers and directing and programs and stuff. And then that's transitioned here with like our staff. Our staff are mostly students, and so watching them go from not knowing how to make an espresso drink to having a key to the building and letting me know, how opening went or closing, seeing that growth, that's just tremendous. And then keeping up those relationships, over time. So when I travel to a game, I did New York a couple times last year for things, and there's always an alum, and that's a cool thing about Elon, is there's always an alum somewhere. And to reconnect with them and see their new life, their family, their what's going on with them. I love that.
Yeah, and that shows that you guys had a true relationship. It wasn't just because you were in the same place at the same time, but continuing on.
Absolutely.
That's good. So, all right, the last thing I always like to do is end with a recommendation. When parents come to visit their students always like to get off campus and do things. Obviously we'd recommend the Oak House. We'd want to go there, but anything else to see or do or while parents are here with their students?
Yeah. Well, the biggest, I guess, piece of advice I would give, it's not as specific, but just don't just hang out on campus. Don't just do these things. These are great, but you're move-in weekend family. You're going to do these. These are going to happen. Downtown Burlington has a great vibe. They're developing restaurant. There's a brew pub. There's coffee down there even, and I support all our local coffee shops. Right. So I would say get out and do that. And then I also we have baseball downtown. We have Grasshoppers nearby with a different level of baseball. There's some state parks and things around that are close by. There's go paddling on the lake, trails. There's all kinds of stuff to kind of get out. But the biggest thing I would say is just don't just stay here. I don't know if the Mike picked it, but the train just went by.
Right.
And another reminder, there's a train station in Burlington. You
Yeah.
can get to Durham, Raleigh, Greensboro, Charlotte real fast, real easy. Do a day trip. Those are fun.
Yeah.
So
Very good.
anyway, get out and experience those things is what I would say.
Very good. Well, Phil, we appreciate your time, and hope parents will come hang out at the Oak House next time you come to visit. And we appreciate those of you at home for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time on Between the Oaks.